Greetings, subscribers! Today I'm going to be showing you my process for creating the Chaos War Mammoth from the game Total War Warhammer. Just as a fair warning, this is the first time I've ever tried to make a tutorial like this, so if it comes off as too fast or confusing, I apologize. But just understand that I'm doing my best to show my step-by-step thought process in how I create one of these models from the game. The materials I use for this build are as follows: toothpicks, skewers, scissors, a hole puncher, X-Acto knives, hot glue gun, Dremel tool, Sharpies, cardstock, ultra-thin cardboard, double corrugated cardboard, various colored paper, jewelry chain links, jewelry chains, paintbrushes, various acrylic paints including gunmetal, gold, ivory, flesh, white, red, and brown. Before I can begin the construction process, I have to go into the game Total War Warhammer and take as many reference pictures as I need to get as many details as I want out of the model I'm making. After taking a whole bunch of reference pictures, I finally can begin my construction process. I use the reference pictures to create several stencils out of either paper or cardstock and use them to trace out templates. The first thing I have to make is the body of the mammoth itself. I use the feral mammoth in the game as a basis so I can put the armor on later. I then take the stencils I just created and trace them onto the double corrugated cardboard and create the pieces for the body. I start out with about 5 layers in the center, and then I create several emboss-like pieces for the legs, just to make them that much thicker. Cut out the tusks by taking 3 layers of the ultra-thin cardboard and gluing them together. This ensures that the tusks have enough stability to stay together when I glue them onto the mammoth's body. I keep the head and body separate, as it will be easier to work on them individually. For this jagged effect underneath the mammoth's trunk, I take a piece of ultra-thin cardboard and separate the top layer from the corrugation, creating a layer of jagged pieces that can be used to make a bumpy texture effect. Very useful. For the claw-like trunk, I take a piece of paper and draw it to look like this, and then cut it out on a single piece of the ultra-thin cardboard and glue it onto the end of the trunk. I then take several skewers and cut them into teeth or claw pieces, and then glue them onto the ends of the claw shape. There are 6 claws in total. For the skull pattern on the tusks, I took several skull pictures into Photoshop and layered them one on top of the other. I then printed those out onto some ivory colored paper and put them onto the tusks. I then wrapped the ends in gold paper and added spikes to them. Unfortunately, I do not have any video of me painting the mammoth itself, but I can tell you that I used a base coat of flesh color and then covered the outer layers with brown to simulate the fur. For the underside of the trunk and the feet, I took some of the flesh and mixed it with some red and some brown to create darker flesh tone. For the armor on the legs and the head, I cut out stencils that look like this, and then I traced them onto several sheets of ultra-thin cardboard. You'll notice that the leg armor pieces are cut out of a piece of ultra-thin cardboard that is actually 2 stacked on top of each other. This is because the armor pieces are a little thicker than the armor plates going on his head. I also take several of the chains and glue them onto the armor pieces to wrap around the legs. This is probably the hardest part, as it was very tricky getting them to stay in place. Where necessary, I pulled out the gold paint and I painted on the arrows where the chaos symbols were etched around the eye of the mammoth. Using some of the gold paper, I traced out a skull pattern and put it on the front of the helmet. For creating the tower, I cut out several stencils that look like this and traced them onto ultra-thin cardboard. I then cut them out as shown here. For the interior of the tower, I take some stencils that look like this and cut them out of double corrugated cardboard to mimic the staircase effect inside the tower. For the shields, I cut out some circles using the ultra-thin cardboard, and I used the various shield patterns in the pictures I took for reference. The arrow-shaped links that connect the tower pieces together are also cut from cardstock and are painted gunmetal. For the skull totems, I took several skewers and cut them into bone-like jutting shapes. For the skulls, I took 2 from some 1/72 scale skeleton figures and stuck them onto the ends of the poles. To make the Marauder Hunters, I start with their javelins. I noticed that the javelins are much shorter than normal spears, and they're also a lot thinner in the stock. So I take a toothpick, combine it with a skewer, and cardstock on the top to create that spear-like effect, but have it small enough to be a javelin. I make 6 of these for the 6 Marauders. For the Marauders themselves, I take 6 army men, 1/72 scale standard, and I start with a single red band of red construction paper and wrap it around the legs. I then take out some cardstock and cut out a belt, put on a belt buckle, then I put on a gorger and a pauldron on the right shoulder, and then I pose the arms to hold the javelin. I finally make them a helmet and stick horns on it, and then paint in the eye slits. This is what they look like when all 6 of them are finished. I cut off the bases and put them onto the top of the tower in the correct position as is in the game, making sure that the javelins do not collide with any of the edges of the tower. And with that, the Chaos War Mammoth is complete. To be honest, it turned out way better than I expected. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Please leave a like or a comment if you've enjoyed it, and please subscribe. It would help me out greatly. And thank you very much for watching. You all have a good day.